Welcome to the Creative Entrepreneur Show. What do we have this week, Brian?
Hey Rosh, happy to be here. We are two creative guys talking AI, and today I'm bringing some realness here, some things that are a little bit on the scarier side of AI that are starting to pop up and maybe interfere with creatives in their lives. I want to talk about the AI plateau that is kind of happening right now, and then what that next step is going to be, and that's where it maybe gets a little scary.
Kind of an
Um,
expansion of last week. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I dug into that a little deeper, and there's been some stuff where they're starting to use AI to train AI, and
yeah.
some of the stuff that's happening is a little bit on the scary side. Um, I do want to talk about some of my multimodal AI solutions that I did this week across some of the problems that I ran across, and just some good advice for people. And then lastly, they did a blind competition of AI poetry versus real poetry.
Uh-oh.
Guess what won?
We'll find out, eh?
We're gonna find out exactly. So, what do you have going on today, bud?
So there's been a little bit of a hint out there in terms of how advertising is going to play in this AI environment with all these tools out there. And Perplexity gave a good hint of what is to come and why. So I want to talk about that. Then I want to just dive a little bit into, not fully, but a little bit into what's new with Adobe and their suite, their creative suite. They have new stuff that has come out. I'll touch on a few things and tell you where you can get more information straight from Adobe about what is new for 2025.
Cool. Well, yeah, I know you always have your finger on the pulse of all things Adobe, so
I
I do
try.
not. So, yeah, I'm excited to learn about that. So, but yeah, I know we brushed on last week talking about how, these iterations of each of these AI platforms, they're starting to not really blow us away with the newer versions. And we
Right.
kind of said, how smart can these get? And this is to a point where OpenAI, they're kind of concerned because GPT-5 is not nearly as impressive versus GPT-4 as, say, GPT-4 was versus GPT-3.
Right.
And there's reasons as to why, but again, there was another huge investment into OpenAI, and they're starting to hit that like law of diminishing returns.
Hmm.
And one of the reasons is all of the human generated text that has been made in the last, what, 40, 50 years, and even before that, that has been digitized, it's already been consumed by these AI, and they're starting to learn out, to run out of things to learn from.
Right.
And that's becoming a major issue. So, what a lot of companies are doing are, say, taking older textbooks and different things like that and digitizing things. So that way there's more information to feed into the AI
Right.
machines.
Right.
So, it's all being used up. And, this is where that next step of scalability is going to come in. And, the AI companies, they're already starting to scratch the surface of this, where the AI is no longer going to need human generated text to improve itself. It's going to use itself to get better. And I want to talk about an
What could
instance
go
where,
wrong?
yeah, what could go wrong? Exactly. So, Meta, the AI technology that Meta uses, so Facebook, Instagram, all
Hmm.
them, and very, much a language-based one. What they did was they set up a reward system for it where it could then improve its text. And when the text was a little bit better, it then got its digital reward, whatever that
Hmm.
was.
A
And
cookie.
then, yeah, a cookie. Ah, I see what you did there. I love it. And so what happened was this code, it started to actually rewrite the reward,
Hmm.
and it wasn't supposed to. And then it actually started to rewrite some of the coding behind it that was meant to kind of keep the guardrails on of, kind of breaking the rules.
Right.
And then lastly, it started to actually generate code meant to hide that tampering with the code.
Ooh.
Right.
It's doing it this early.
It's doing it this early. So that's what I meant. Like, we're kind of bringing some realness here, and the all of the sci-fi things in our heads of, this is going to keep getting better so long as we can keep the guardrails on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're seeing instances of this self-learning code that it very much it's not that this happens by accident. It wants to happen, where it wants to kind of bend the rules to its own will to achieve its objective. What have you, I know touched on this a little bit last week, but what have you learned of,
Yeah,
any of
oh,
the,
absolutely. I mean, it is running out of human stuff to consume, and they are having to scan stuff in the old-fashioned way,
Mhm,
and that's going to be an issue, which also slows two factors, which slows down its education,
mhm,
is one, the ability to consume new stuff, and as we mentioned last time, the ability to generate the power to run such complex AIs. So in some ways, I think it's a good thing that that curve is slowing down because now
mhm,
we have, yes, I mean, we now have tools and partners that we can use. I mean, I spend a lot of time coding, but it's not like I'm pushing a button and I'm creating Photoshop.
right,
I'm pushing a button and creating a little tool, and it takes me 2, 3 days of yelling at the AI and making adjustments to get it to where I'm happy.
right.
So, yes, things are faster, but you know, so
Yeah.
I think this is a good thing overall,
Yes,
ultimately.
exactly. It's slowing down and it's going to allow some of these guardrails to be in place, and whether they have to be at a government level or, just in the programming level. But,
And they're
you know,
developing new ways to use it or approach AI, like for example, the reasoning models.
mhm,
Just different models in which it uses the data it has to be more efficient, to think outside the box in a sense,
mhm.
and maybe even more predictive in a way, or just think deeper about stuff versus just what's the mathematical next sentence.
Right. Well, yeah, and it's making deeper connections and, making extrapolations of data across different data sets that normally, some human brains wouldn't make. So that's where things are going to continue to improve.
Yeah.
Where, we look at right now how a car works. Just, think of that concept in general. It started with, combustion engine and they would get moving. And then, actually there were electric cars way back when as well. But
Mhm.
now that the, electric cars are starting to take over, but there, probably the next iteration of how we transport might be some sort of connection made from different data sets that a human brain hasn't made yet, that, these
Right.
AIs are starting to do. So, that's going to be that next step where these deeper levels of insight are being made by these machines, and we're discovering new concepts, new ideas, different ways of doing things, and then it's going to start to populate its data source with these new connections, and then that's where that scale can really go and take off. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be alive, and just, you hope that, the bad actors don't run with it too much.
Well, yeah.
Fair enough, right? That's all we can say to that. So, all right, throwing it back your way, advertising in this AI
Yeah.
environment. Yeah,
So
go.
Perplexity just released their advertising, which was expected. They're having some trouble getting people on board with it, the big brands, based because of what it is on the AI front and
Mhm,
in some of the issues and even controversy around Perplexity, which is the AI search engine, which is the most notable one. Although now we know that Chat GPT has one and others, they're developing everywhere, the various search engines, but Perplexity is the main one. And they started advertising. But what was really interesting was just a little side note. Well, one of the main reasons we're doing this is there's no way to fully run and scale this without advertising in play.
mhm,
In other words, people paying for it, a monthly subscription would not work. Very much so for Perplexity. Now, yeah, you can get an advanced level Perplexity, I believe, and it's also free, but it's just not going to be something that will sustain it. So they have to do the advertising side. So that's
right.
going to be good for people like you and me who advertise in the world online. We could, if it goes all AI, if Perplexity into ultimately, you know, eats Google's lunch and is the new thing, well, then, hey, my company focuses on perplexity advertising and
Right.
optimization, and that's just fine, wherever it may be, as long as we have that opportunity in our world, in our business. So
Right. And
right
that's really
now,
why
it's not
we're keeping
available
it
to you
on.
and me. It's more of a big brand thing, but that
Right.
was very telling because it's probably true with the other AIs that we use regularly. Yes, we pay $20 a month, but that's either going to go up or there's going to be advertising involved.
Yes. Well, yeah, and a lot of people are going to realize, maybe even just the chat function is really, I mean, not the chat, the search function is really
Yes.
what they end up using. And there's probably going to be a free version of that that's going to have advertising. And, we'll continue at the enterprise level that we're at, we're using it for work and
Mhm.
everything to pay for it. And maybe our chat experience will be a little bit better, but ultimately, yeah, it's going to go in that same direction with advertising for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what do you got next?
All right, so my multimodal solution of the week. So, I am now the vice president of my BNI group, which I've mentioned in the previous
Yep.
weeks. I know you're happy to no longer have that crown
Yeah. You
bestowed
you
upon
jumped on
you.
board as I jumped off different groups,
Exactly.
but
Yeah. Hey,
same
different
thing.
different groups, but yeah. So, our group, especially this time of year, we got some charity things that are going on, and I want to try to get this information out in both social media posts, whether I'm actually working for that client in particular that's doing the event, or if I want to get it out to our BNI's social media, or if I want to get an email out to the chapter. What I've been doing is say these actual the flyers for these things. So Toys for Tots are one of the ones that we're doing, and other ones a clothing drive. These respective companies have made a really good flyer with all the information. And instead of rewriting reinventing the wheel here and making a whole new post or a caption for it, I'm uploading the flyer and saying, hey, I'm making a social media post for this company. Read this flyer and here's a little bit of extra information, but make me a social media post for this. And
Right.
then it's able to go through, read that whole flyer and, pull out all the pertinent things and write it as a really good post. And then at that same time, say, all right, this is perfect for a social media post. Now I need it to go as an email to my whole BNI chapter. Here's the name of my chapter. Rewrite this whole thing, but word it as just an email. Boom, spits it out. That's perfect. Great. And, these are all kind of, basic things that we've done before. But what was great is, this was probably a 5 or 6 prompt back and forth to really get the right social media posts and really get the right
Mhm.
email. But then at the end of all that, I then uploaded the next flyer, which say it wasn't for Toys for Tots, but it was for a clothing drive. And I said, okay, take this whole conversation, everything that we've agreed upon previous, but now apply it to this flyer.
Yeah.
And without even extra prompting, it gave me the social media post and it gave me the email. And it was perfect. I didn't have to make any
Yeah.
iterations or anything to it. And it took what might have been an hour or two worth of work, to put together a really good looking email, these social media posts. And, it was probably an hour or so's worth of work that I then got done in about 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And a perfect example of a way to use this technology and make it so, as the VP of this group, I'm sending an email out to 70 people in my chapter. I don't want to look like a fool and have an email that doesn't really look good and doesn't
Right.
have all the pertinent information. And this is a way to kind of step up my game
Hmm.
and just be more efficient, quicker, and have a really good looking email go out there to everyone.
Yeah.
So, just a basic thing, we're just using an image. And then, oh, I had one other one, which I thought was really cool. I put this post up for one of the clients, and it kind of ended up in like Facebook purgatory, where the post only went up like as a video, not even a reel on like one of their pages, but I couldn't see it on desktop. I could only see it on the Facebook app on the phone. So I was like, all right, this is weird. But that whole caption that I wrote out, the only way that that caption existed was in this little Facebook post. So I actually got like 4 screenshots of the caption as I rolled through it on a reel on the bottom, and then I deleted that post because it was not publishing properly. And but then I uploaded all 4 of those screenshots to ChatGPT and said, "Hey, rewrite this caption, emojis and all, so I don't have to retype the whole thing."
Yeah.
And sure enough, it read it perfectly, understood where, one wording ended and the next one began on the next screenshot, and boom, gave it to me right away. So
Yeah.
just little simple working things that, might have taken me 15 or 20 minutes are now taking me 2 to 5.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, summarizing is such a powerful tool
Mhm.
within the AI world, whatever it may be, if it's a PDF or anything you have digitally, just to give you the core information and to be able to create something new with it, or like you said, social posts. That's amazing. But also, as you pointed out, the ability to once you get it right, after my day of arguing with
Right. Yeah.
the AI and the coding, no, this, that, now do that again, but
Yeah.
for this.
But
And
apply it.
that makes up a lot.
Oh,
And
it's
even on
big.
the email front, I will often write out an email and then I just pop it into Chat GPT and say, or Claude, and say, please proofread, it'll go through, proofread, it sounds
Yeah,
great. I'll make a couple more adjustments back in it and send it.
right.
Never send it directly the way it is because sometimes you copy created by ChatGPT 4.0 or you copy
Yep.
something that's like, here's your latest email for the that jerk that you wanted to get rid of. No,
Exactly.
just but you know what I
Don't
mean.
share too much with the AI. Yeah.
Yeah, or they may say so, it may phrase something in a way that just totally is not you and that people would know. So you should always reread the stuff
Yep.
that you do, but the it
Yeah.
makes you look more professional, as you said, and it allows you to do more in and again, higher level way.
Right. And you can even adjust it to the audience. So say, hey, sometimes if you're, especially, us in the kind of the technical field, sometimes we talk at a little, terms and a little higher level than, most people that aren't in this
Yeah,
world would understand. And, I'm not trying to say that, we're super smart or anything like that, but we just use terms that we assume that each other know all the time.
right.
And you can literally be like, hey, kind of dumb this down for someone that, that
Yeah,
doesn't really know tech too well
make it
and can
easy.
reword it. And, of course, when we're writing something, anytime we can always assume that we're making the point in our head, but to have that, kind of sounding board to bounce it off against that, hey, I'm actually making this point. That's a good way to use AI for sure.
Yeah, very, very
So,
good.
all right, throw it back to you with Adobe Suite. What's going down?
Yeah, so there's a lot. Adobe each, I think it's usually each fall announces what's coming up in into their new version, and Adobe 2025 is out there. And I mean, bottom line, it Firefly is pretty much it seems like going into everything. InDesign now has the tools in which you can uh, just say, "Hey, make this picture text to image," and just put it in there. Another thing I really liked also is that InDesign now allows you to export to HTML5. I don't know if it could do that before, but
Hmm.
that's really nice. If you like the design, if you're really good at InDesign, I can't say that I am, but I do use Photoshop a lot, and they have updated along with Firefly going everywhere, and obviously the video Firefly video stuff is coming,
Yeah.
and but the new stuff in Photoshop just get rid basically distraction tools, getting rid of things within your photo. It's more designed very specific for maybe small like a line, a wire going across somewhere that you just don't want it. It's really designed to do a good job at getting rid of those things with the
Okay.
distraction tool. So there are little things like that within the AI world that, yeah, was already in. I mean, AI was already in Photoshop, but it's just getting better with a few more tools. There's a lot that's been going on. So if you have Creative Cloud and you want to go in and just look under help, and there's a little tab that says what's new, and check it out there. It'll kind of run down everything for you of what is new, and it's worth looking because and we've talked about before just doing a little thing here and there. The little steps along the way within these programs are nice, but if you haven't used it for quite a while, I talked to a friend who's still using CS6, which is actually the kind you put your disk in your
Oh, wow.
for Photoshop. He has not gone to Creative Cloud. So, a lot has changed if you have not updated and
Right.
you haven't used Creative Cloud. What programs do you use? Have you been using anything new within the Adobe world?
No, I'm kind of, oh, I don't really play in the Adobe world at
Yeah,
all.
no,
So
that's
that's
fine.
why I
Just
always
curious.
kind of count
What
on that
tools
from
do
you.
you
But
use?
I mean, really, we're more on the basic side for graphics. So a lot of Canva, which, they
Yep.
have a lot of AI built into that. And, past that, I mean, there's a lot of our scheduling programs like Hootsuite and, the ones that have just been famous and known for a
Yeah.
while, but they've all been implementing their own AI technologies into them. And it's really been great.
Right.
So I mean, rewriting a caption or anything like that, things in the social media world that
Yeah.
affects us. But
AI in your
luckily,
toaster, it's coming.
right. Oh yeah, it's everywhere. So, but I'm glad you actually mentioned the Adobe Suite because I was hit with an advertisement of that, the Firefly video work, and they're really giving Runway, a run for their money.
Yeah.
I saw one that was cool where you can green screen, a person performing something. And again, I'm always trying to make stuff, for my band and
Yeah.
creative music videos and stuff like that. And so actually to have, one of us perform, a song or sing lyrics or something in front of a green screen, now you can do text to not, text to background. and have it be a background scene that you can like actually say, I want them, walking through spooky woods and bring
Yeah.
in elements of this or that, and then have your person with a green screen be there actually walking, and it'll actually make it look like they're walking down the path.
Yeah.
So, it won't be like, those 90s music videos where you could tell that they were really stretching, the edge of their capabilities. But again, there's still that double-edged sword with it because any big bands, if they get caught out using AI, and the second you go to the captions, people are just able, their AI detectors are up and they are there with their pitchforks ready to come and get them. Like
That's
Joe
interesting.
Satriani was the latest one that I saw
Who
where it
was
was like
it?
Joe Satriani,
Oh,
famous
really?
guitar
Okay.
player. Yeah, and big name dude, one of the
Yeah.
greatest guitar players in the
Yeah.
world. And it was him performing on stage, and then all of a sudden he was a skeleton with the guitar in his hand and his fingers, and the fingers
Oh,
poorly done, and the strings on the guitar looked terrible, and it was just not good AI. But it was, those programs that get sold to you where it's like, okay, yeah, you could perform as anything, but if bad AI is bad art.
yeah, right, right. Well, hey, Runway is doing a great job, but there are a couple red pandas out there under a new name that's doing well. I'll do an update on video really soon because there are a number of really good ones that are doing well. But I think Runway is always a good one to go to first if you're trying to find some place to start because they really seem to be launching new tools every few weeks that are solid and continuously improving what they have to offer.
Well, I need to open it up again because they're still charging me every month, and I haven't opened it in a month. So make sure I use those credits before I lose them. So yeah, I'll get back into Runway. So, all
Yeah.
right, but I had
Excellent.
one last topic to go over
Yep.
today, and it was a little controversial here. So a blind test study was done to test AI poetry versus the likes of Lord Byron, Shakespeare, Poe, all these famous poets of years gone
Yeah.
by. And turns out that when it was a blind test and people didn't know whether it was, one of these famous artists or if it was done by AI, overwhelmingly, people actually preferred the AI poetry.
Overwhelmingly.
Overwhelmingly. It was
Not
like in
not
the
just like
70 to
almost like
80.
51 to 49. This
It was
was
the 70 to 80% world.
wow.
So, but here's the silver lining in it.
Okay.
AI tended to use language that was still slightly dumbed down compared
Okay.
to even when saying, hey, write something Shakespeare inspired or write something Poe
Right.
inspired. It's still trained on too much of our modern dummy way of talking that it still ended up using kind of dumbed down. And it was based on still some more modern terms and terminologies and themes that a modern consumer is going to be more drawn to.
Right.
So, that to me is the silver lining in it. But it is crazy that, in this kind of creative field of, high flow, high art, that this AI is coming in and winning these blind, surveys.
Yeah.
But then at the end, the attitude changes completely towards this art the second that these people learn that it was AI generated.
Right.
And then they're
Right.
like, oh, of course it was
Yeah.
AI. How dare I like this? I'm such a simpleton. But I, it's getting there. It's kind of it's a
Yeah,
funny topic
I
for
mean,
debate.
yeah, I mean, I think this is going to force creative people to be more creative.
Yeah.
Allow the basics, look, if you're a poet, you say, what do you mean? You move on. That's what I do, but there there is another level and the creative mind of the human has an opportunity to create something new at a higher level when the basics are just taken out from underneath you.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's the way it goes. We'll see. But yeah, we just hope that's all I can say.
I know, like I said, I'm
It's
bringing some
different
cautionary
every
tales
week.
today here, but it's
Uh,
we gotta know. We gotta know. We gotta talk to the creatives, and if anybody has any topics, anything that they want us to go over, please feel free to pop on over to the website, creativeentrepreneurshow.com. Also, we are putting this simultaneously out in the podcast world, but also on YouTube. So if
yes,
you've only been listening to us, please pop over to YouTube, check us out there. And yeah, until then,
that's
hey,
it. All
we're
right. Hey,
two
we're two
creative guys.
creative guys talking AI. Talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week, everyone. Bye.